Hello, dear students. Welcome to What, Why, How, the daily initiative by IAS Baba, where we take up a current topic or an editorial and we declutter it in less than 10 minutes. The topic that I've chosen for today is one of the words that are constantly heard during the time of elections as a whole. And very recently, we have had a report also suggesting certain aspects of it. As you can see over here, the headline reads as the anti-minority hate speech in India rose by almost 74% in 2024. This report has been released by a certain research group. Now, what exactly is hate speech? Why and how did they come to this number? All of these things are what we're going to discuss in the next few minutes. First of all, this is a report that was published by a certain research group called as India Hate Lab. India Hate Lab actually is a US based Kashmiri journalists research group. It's led by a journalist called as Rakib Hamid Naik, and it's a project of the Center for Study of Organized Hate, which is a non-profit think tank based in Washington. Now you can see over here, what they have done is they have documented instances of almost 1165 cases where there was hate speech involved, and this happened just in the year 2024 as compared with 668 hate speech issues that happened a year earlier. It was observed that primarily the hate speech occurred in events such as political rallies, religious processions, protest marches, and even cultural gatherings. One of the major reasons why they have attributed that the hate speech has increased is because 2024 was a general election year in India. And when the polling was held in seven phases almost in different states over the period of time, in several election rallies, there were instances of hate speech getting reported. So between the time period of April 19th and June 1, there were several instances of hate speech, and this is what has increased the number of hate speech incidences from 668 to almost 1165. Now, coming into the question, what exactly is hate speech and what is the definition that they have taken for this particular report? They have taken the United Nations definition of hate speech, where it says that it is the prejudiced or discriminatory language towards an individual or a group based on attributes including religion, ethnicity, nationality, race, or gender. Primarily, it is a very biased or a discriminatory language that is used as what United Nations calls hate speech. Now, coming to closer to India, Indian law has no legal definition of hate speech. So there is no particular legal definition, but nevertheless, the 267th report of the Law Commission of India has defined hate speech as something that will lead to an incitement to hatred, primarily against a group of persons determined in the terms of race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, religious belief, and the like. Compared to your United Nations definition, words like sexual orientation, words, certain aspects of a religious belief, there they have just mentioned religion. So, religious belief means even the non belief of religion cannot be discriminated. So, all of these definitions are included in the 267th report of the Law Commission as to what a hate speech is. Now, if you look at the incidences of hate speech, it is not that we do not have Indian law for it. There are several sections of your Indian Penal Code that looks forward to punish the incidences of hate speech. Let's have a look at it. The sections 153A and 153B primarily says that any act that can cause enmity and hatred between groups should be punished. The next thing is section 295A of IPC. This is something that you hear a lot of times whenever there is an election. It deals with punishing acts which deliberately or with malicious intent outrage the religious feelings of a class of people. This can very quickly maybe lead to a kind of a riot like situation. So this has much more gravity. This section 295A is put on to people when there is a much more gravity to the words that they use. Apart from that, section 505(1) and 505(2) both make the publication and circulation of content that may cause ill will or hatred between different groups a offense. Now, these are just in the Indian Penal Code. If you look at it, even the Representation of People's Act of 1951 has also made it punishable for certain aspects of hate speech. Section 8 of the Representation of People's Act says it prevents a person convicted of the legal use of freedom of speech from contesting an election. Illegal use of freedom of speech means any kind of incidences where freedom of speech is used to affect the integrity and the fraternity of a country. So even that is punishable. Despite this, we require severe, much more measures to counter your hate speech. As mentioned in several Law Commission reports, you need to have much more media literacy, because in a lot of incidences, cases of hate speech even rarely get reported. So, media literacy, dialogue, counter speech, self regulation of your politicians, etc., and even civil society engagement to report the incidences of hate speech should happen. Apart from that, there should be a very clear code of conduct for legislatures, just like we have for the IAS officers. Even for legislators, we should have code of conduct that prevent them from having or using certain words when it comes to, or certain words in certain lines and incitement of certain religious sentiments, etc. That should not be done. Holding lawmakers and political parties accountable for hate speech, and even promoting media ethics to discourage its dissemination. A lot of times, what happens is, for the unregulated use of your social media, etc., any small incident that could have happened in some village would quickly catch traction, and it would spread through WhatsApp, etc. So what happens is, a lot of misinformation is also spread in the name of hate speech. So we have to take stricter measures. Otherwise, if this incidents of a hate speech, not just in this particular report, we will be seen in a very bad light when it comes to hate speech, even in the international governance. I hope this issue has been decluttered. Until we meet again, take care and happy learning.